Story begins with a boy and a girl walking towards their classroom. On the way, they encounter some students who think they are cool and wonder if they are dating each other. It turns out the girl is the head of the student council, named Inukami, while the boy is her subordinate, named Kazuki. We are then introduced to a boy named Osato Ken, an average school student, who has no friends and always spends time alone but loves to help animals and birds. One day, while helping a group of sparrows, he gets late returning home. Suddenly, heavy rain comes down, and some students take his umbrella. Wondering what to do in this condition, he thinks of stealing the umbrella of another student. But since he is a kind and loving boy, he realizes that this is not who he is. Just then, Inukami walks in and asks about his umbrella. Since she is the president of the student council and doesn't want a student to get drenched in the rain, she offers to lend him her umbrella, but Osato refuses it. Her subordinate, Kazuki, comes in and tells her that he is his classmate and gives him his extra umbrella. Osato wonders how Kazuki knows his name since they haven't talked to each other in class, but thinks that he must be a good guy. They then introduce each other and head back home, declaring that it must be fate that brought them together. But Osato feels that students will get jealous of this since he is walking with the popular duo in the school. On the way, he tells Kazuki that he thinks of him as a girly boy who only talks to girls, but Kazuki denies it, stating that he only replies to the girls who talk to him. Osato also tells Inukami that he thinks of her as a goddess, but Kazuki informs him that not only is she kind and beautiful, but she also tops every subject and is great in sports. Hearing their heartfelt conversation, Osato asks if they are dating, as he heard so many rumors about them in school. However, Kazuki shuts him down, revealing that their relationship is just a senpai and subordinate. Since no one said this to their faces, Inukami tells him that she admires his courage, calling this way better than talking behind their backs. She then asks both of them about their future plans, but they reveal they have none. Kazuki asks why she always asks this question, to which she tells him that she doesn't have herself, and she does not belong in this world. Hearing her words, Osato realizes that she is his opposite, as he himself wants to have a popular life, while she gets everything she wants easily. Just then, Inukami and Kazuki hear the sounds of the bells ringing and stop on the ground. They ask Osato about it, but he hears nothing. Suddenly, the sound of the bells gets louder and a magic circle appears below them. Osato thinks of this circle as a gate to another world, which sparks a brief interest in Inukami, and the next moment, they transform to another world. After that, they wake up in a royal place. While Kazuki and Osato are horrified at the sudden turn of events, Inukami is super hyped up and reveals that she always wanted to go to another world and meet monsters and heroes. Just then, the man sitting on the throne apologizes to them and reveals that he is Lloyd Linger, the king of the Linger Kingdom, and the one who summoned them to this world. He tells them that they were summoned as heroes to this kingdom, causing panic in Kazuki's eyes while sparking enthusiasm in Inukami. He tells them that 2 years ago, they came under attack by this world's king of demons along with his army, and after an intense battle, they only managed to repel them. Since then, the demon lord has been strengthening his forces, aiming to destroy this kingdom. He also tells them that, as a last resort to protect the kingdom, they use forbidden magic, allowing them to summon those from another world with the potential to defeat the demon lord, a process they call hero summoning. While Inukami is happy about this, Kazuki rejects this request and asks him to send them back to their own world, revealing that he has his family waiting there. However, King Lloyd tells him that this is not possible. He further clarifies that the hero summon spell only works in one direction, meaning they can bring the heroes to this world but can't send them back. Angered at this, Kazuki tries to attack them, but Osato stops him. Just then, King Lloyd bows down before them, calling them heroes, and asks them to lend their powers to defeat the Demon Lord, promising that he will try to find a way to send them back to their world in the near future. After that, Inukami asks why they call them heroes and thinks they must have mistaken about them. The king's right hand, Welsi, informs them that the hero summon magic circle contains a spell that seeks out those with hero potential, and hearing the sound of the bell is their proof. However, Osato reveals that he didn't hear anything, which means he just got caught up in it. After that, Welsi takes them to her room to check their magical aptitude with her crystal ball. Kazuki asks Osato if he is okay with this since he was dragged into this without being summoned. However, Osato tells him that he is fine with it. He may not be a hero, but he wants to do something for this country. Just then, Welsi asks Inukami to put her hand on the magic crystal ball, and when she does, it is revealed that Inukami has the power of thunder magic. She then asks Kazuki to put his hand on the crystal, and when he does, it is revealed that Kazuki possesses the power of light, a rare ability that can easily extinguish any evil. After that, she asks Osato to put his hand on the crystal, and when he does, the crystal emits a green light. In a horrifying state, Welsi grabs his hand and rushes out of the room, dragging him along. She informs King Lloyd about Inukami's thunder magic and Kazuki's light magic but is horrified while revealing Osato's magic. King Lloyd speculates that Osato might possess dark magic, an ability typically controlled by demons, but she clarifies that the crystal turned green. Hearing this, King Lloyd also becomes horrified and advises her not to mention it loudly since this type of magic is very rare. He believes they need to get Osato as far away from the castle as possible and wonders if there's any safe place for him in the kingdom. Before they prepare for his departure, Osato questions King Lloyd about his magic and expresses concern about its nature. Just then, a girl with green hair enters, causing panic among everyone present, including the king. She inquires about summon magic and heroes, looks at Osato, and concludes that he must be the summoned hero. However, King Lloyd corrects her mistake, stating that Osato is not a hero and was summoned by mistake. The green-haired girl is revealed to be Rose, the captain of the kingdom's rescue squad. Seeing Rose's intimidating appearance, Osato thinks she doesn't look like someone from a rescue squad but rather from a killing squad. Walsey offers to take Rose to the hero's room, and she happily agrees. Just as Rose is about to leave, King Lloyd suggests that Osato rest in the room while they contemplate the situation. However, Osato presses him for information about his magic and the significance of the magical crystal turning green. At the mention of the color green, Rose stops and asks the king for permission to borrow Osato. In a horrified state, King Lloyd instructs Walsey to send Osato as far away as possible, and she complies. However, Rose is exceptionally fast, catching up to him quickly and even disrupting Walsey's magical spell to capture Osato. She then informs King Lloyd that she intends to train Osato as a proper healer and leaves the palace. It is revealed that despite being summoned accidentally into this world, Osato possesses rare healer magic. Walsey informs Inukami and Kazuki about this, and Rose's plans to make Osato her subordinate since she also possesses healing magic abilities. Inukami thinks this might not be a bad thing, but Walsey warns her that Miss Rose's training methods are extremely harsh, and those who undergo her training become mentally tough. After reaching her house, Rose explains the concept of healing magic to Osato. She introduces him to his subordinates, including Tong, Mill, Alec, Gommel, and Gerd, all of whom have a scary appearance. Apologizing for their intimidating looks, Tong clarifies that this is their way of introducing themselves. Rose then informs Osato that the rescue squad has only 2 healers who are currently on duty elsewhere. With a more fearsome expression, she informs him that she will enhance his use of healing magic, leaving Osato to request a change of instructor. However, she departs, stating that his training will commence early the next morning. Shocked, Osato contemplates what lies ahead but resolves to give it his best effort before bidding the night farewell. The next day, our healer magician, Usato, wakes up and realizes that it isn't a dream and that he's really in another world. One of the guys comes to his room and tells him that he has visitors. He steps outside and meets Kazuki and Inukami, who are relieved that he's alright. He apologizes for worrying them and tells them he's still alive. That's until he remembers that Rose exists, and that she will train him starting today, which means that he might not be alive tomorrow. However, he reveals that he has nothing else to do and this is also a chance to do something useful. Inukami is impressed by those words and reveals they will also start their training today. Hearing this, Kazuki turns to Usato and promises to give his best in this world as the two depart. Rose suddenly steps outside and asks if the heroes are gone. Usato confirms. Rose then explains he's not in prison and can meet his friends when he wants, as long as he isn't training. Usato thanks her, and she gives him a diary. She explains that he should write down his training experiences as it will prove useful to him in the future. After the breakfast, Rose starts his training. Our healer magician's first task is to concentrate and relax. He feels something on his chest, and Rose explains that's magic, and reveals she will teach him how to draw it out of his body. After finishing that training, Rose orders him to read a book. Usato is confused because he cannot read the language in this world, but upon opening it, he realizes that he can read and understand. Rose explains that upon being summoned by the hero spell, everyone has a translation spell cast on them. She shows him some of the images in the book and explains their current location and where the demons live. Usato realizes they're close to each other, and she replies that Linger Kingdom is the demon's first target. She tells him to read the book as he will learn about the world, nations, races, and demons. Usato starts reading it, thinking this training is easy. However, the second day was different as Rose forced him to run. On the third day, he was forced to run until his body couldn't handle it anymore, and as a result, his body gave up and he fell to the ground. But Rose got mad and slapped his legs with healing magic. He rolled around complaining about the pain until he realized that he didn't feel any pain at all. Rose informs him that she healed all his muscle soreness with magic, therefore, he should start running once again. Usus gets up and runs for his life, but she tells him that even if he dies, she will heal him back to life just to make him run. On the fourth day, our healer magician, Usato, started to train with the other squad members. However, the bandits were insulting him as they overlapped him. He then continued to run during the fifth and sixth day, but was slow and lazy and ends up falling to the ground. However, while trying to get up, he notices that his hand is glowing with green energy and realizes that it is a healing magic. Days 7, 8 and 9 were pretty much the same. Usato run into exhaustion, get kicked, and repeat it for the whole day. However, he realizes that he's using healing magic and doesn't feel pain or injuries. On the 10th day, he started to use healing magic on his will and can now run without getting tired, but wonders if he will be able to help Kazuki and Inukami with just running training. The next day, Rose added 1,000 push-ups to his training program. While doing the push-ups, Rose asks if he knows why she's forcing him to train his body. Usato wonders, but she explains it's because he needs to run from the enemy on the battlefield and save his fallen comrades. Therefore, the faster he runs, the faster he will be able to save them. Usato is surprised by those words, but she orders him to continue doing push-ups. On the 12th day, Usato ran during the whole morning and spent his afternoon doing more push-ups, but he noticed that his body felt a bit lighter. Yet Rose also noticed something was going on and added some weights while he ran. The next day, he continued to train that way until he noticed that on the 14th day, his lunch went missing. He asks his comrades about it, but Tong simply replies it was delicious. Our healer magician, Usato, gets mad and throws a cup of water at him, followed by a punch. Tong dodges it as he explains that internal fights are banned from the rescue squad. In the end, Tong runs away laughing while Usato chases him without any effort despite carrying some weights. A week later, Kazuki and Inukami visit him alongside the princess and a knight. Upon arriving there, they get shocked to see Usato doing push-ups with Rose sitting on a huge rock on top of him. She complains that he's too slow and motivates him not to quit. Usus refuses to quit and mocks her, saying that she is very light. Rose replies to him with putting another rock on top. Despite this, Usato continues to push forward, using his magic to heal himself. Seeing this, Rose admires his determination, saying that he's becoming her type of guy and that at this rate, she might take him with her way sooner than she thought. Kazuki and Inukami cannot believe Usato is doing all this, but Inukami quickly starts drooling after checking his muscles. However, the knight, Siglis, gets angry and grabs Rose's collar, asking what she is doing to him. He says that she's trying to destroy Usato, but Rose simply replies that he can train his knights however he wants, but she will use her methods to make Usato become her right-hand man. Therefore, she cannot go easy on him. Rose reveals that what she loves the most about Usato is that he doesn't give up and has been able to survive her hellish training. Hearing this, Usato gets worried because Siglis will probably make his training even harder, but to his surprise, Rose orders him to take a break and have lunch. While resting under a tree, Usato finds out that the guy is the kingdom's strongest knight and is the one who's teaching Kazuki and Inukami how to use the sword. Usato finds it impressive but turns to the princess, asking who she is. She introduces herself, and he apologizes because he was being rude. Kazuki then asks if Usato's training has always been as bad as just now. However, our healer magician simply replies that today was pretty easy and asks about theirs. Kazuki replies that their training is hard, in which Sages teaches them swordsmanship while Y teaches them magic, but they always take care of their physical and mental conditions. Kazuki then apologizes, but Usato doesn't understand why and tries to get another slice of pie. Inukami uses this chance to check out our boy's muscles. Usato gets shy, but she's totally into his huge abs. Kazuki then asks Usato if he's having a hard time. Usus confirms, saying that he had it really hard in the beginning and wanted to run, but he's fine now. He explains that Rose scares him, but he doesn't feel like running away because he enjoys training and life here. He then shows his healing magic and explains that they will be fighting as heroes, therefore, he wants to help with something. Suddenly, Tong appears and mentions that he has Usato's lunch. Our healer magician gets annoyed and pulls his freaky face, questioning his attitude and smiling despite what he did. Tong also uses his freaky face, telling him to forget about his past grudge. Usato gets up, refusing to forget about his missing lunch, and charges forward. The two start brawling in front of everyone, making the princess scared. However, Kazuki tells her it's fine as it seems like this is just a part of his daily life, while Inukami believes that he's fitting into this world way faster than them. This motivates Kazuki to return to the castle and continue his training. The next day, Rose throws him a bag and tells him they are going outside. His comrades get worried as they reflect on those words and realize it's finally time. Our healer magician gets confused, but Rose simply takes him to the castle gate and tells the guard he will show the outside world to his comrade. The guard opens the door and let them out. They start walking, and Usato asks where they're heading, but Rose tells him to shut up and follow her. After some hours, they reach a cliff. Rose reveals that ahead of him, there's a forest called the Darkness of Linger, which is famous for having dangerous monsters. She then gives him his orders, saying that he can only come home after killing a Grand Grizzly. Usato tries to refuse it, mentioning that Grand Grizzly usually become the strongest after 100 years, and he doesn't know how to fight because she only taught him how to run. However, Rose gets annoyed and throws our healer magician into the forest. Right before falling into the forest, he activates his healing magic and successfully lands on the ground while covering his body with healing magic. He is relieved to be alive and thanks God for giving him the healing magic, but thinks about Rose's order and how to kill the Grand Grizzly. Just then, the Grand Grizzly sneaks up from behind, panicking our healer magician and chasing after him. Usato runs towards the other side of the forest, realizing that he cannot defeat a Grand Grizzly of that size. Yet, he remembers the hellish training Rose and decides to fight it out, but quickly runs away after seeing 2 more blue grizzlies coming after him too. Before they can capture him, he jumps from the cliff and falls into the water spring, thus saving his life. After that, he takes cover under a tree and thinks about Rose and how much food she has given him, wondering that she should have given him something to start a fire with so he can sleep peacefully in the forest. Yet, he eats some food and decides to call it a day and leave it to the next day. The next day, Usato begins to gather information about Grand Grizzlies and their hideouts. He reaches near the cave where he sees claw marks of the Grand Grizzly, believing that he must be near, but hears a sound coming from a nearby bush and backs off. However, the sound turns out to be from a small black rabbit who comes out wounded from the bushes. Our healer magician, Usato, who has a kind heart and cannot see others in pain, quickly heads toward it and heals its injured leg with his healing magic. After that, the black rabbit starts following him, believing that he is a kind person. But Usato stops him, revealing that he is after a scary monster and does not want him to get hurt. However, the rabbit insists and chases after him. Seeing this, Usato wonders if the rabbit can be helpful and decides to ask him about the location of the Grand Grizzly, but gets surprised after the black rabbit takes him to the location of the Grand Grizzly, which turns out to be a family of 3. He thanks him for helping him out and continues spying on them. After a few days, his water supply runs out, and he begins to drink the river water, which turns out to be very bad for him as he falls into the stomach and cannot heal his pain with the healing magic. The black rabbit comes back again and takes him to a spot between the trees. There, he sees a pool of clean water and drinks it, revealing that it is better than his old water. Just then, the horrified black rabbit senses something and climbs up the tree, asking Usato to come there too. Usato looks at the black rabbit, who is giving a terrified look, and wonders what he's afraid of. Just then, a big snake comes out from a forest and gives a chilling vibe to Usato, who, after seeing its size, believes that if he gets near to it, he will be killed in no time. However, he realizes that he must kill the Grand Grizzly and return home safely, otherwise he might get in the way of the big snake. He decides to head to the location of the Grand Grizzlies, but the black rabbit stops him, revealing that it's dangerous to go out in the forest while raining. Our healer magician agrees and takes a day off. The next day, he reaches the location of the Grand Grizzlies but finds them dead. He wonders what happened to them but sees the bite marks, believing that the giant snake must have killed them. He explains that the giant snake did not just kill them for food, but for fun. Just then, he sees the child of the Grand Grizzly coming out of the ground and wonders how it escaped. He then thinks about Rose's orders to kill a giant grizzly, and seeing a baby grizzly, believes that he might be able to complete his task, but stops after seeing the baby grizzly crying over the corpses of its parents. Our healer magician, Usato, reveals that he may have gone through hellish training just to defeat Rose and complete this task. But he does not like what happened to the parents of the baby grizzly, so he decides to avenge their death and heads to the inner side of the forest. At the kingdom, Kazuki and Inukami visit the rescue squad headquarters to meet Usato. There, Tong tells them that he's been training in the forest and is gone for 10 days. Despite their persistence, the bandits don't tell them about his training, and they leave. On the way, Kazuki is worried about Usato and asks Inukami the same, who reveals that she believes in him and he will be fine under the leadership of Miss Rose. The next day, Usato eats his remaining food and heads to the location of the giant snake, asking the black rabbit to lead the way. Upon arriving, our healer magician gets scared at the size of the snake but sees the baby grizzly already being beaten up by him. Despite this, he believes that no one can match the scarier look of Miss Rose and charges at him with his spear. The snake tries to eat him, but he quickly avoids it and retaliates by knocking out one of his eyes with his spear, despite getting hit by the tail of the snake. He quickly heals himself and believes he can fight with him. He charges at him again, and this time gets bitten by the snake on his left arm. But he turns this into an opportunity as his hand was already in his mouth, and uses the knife in his hand to sever the inner part of the snake. Just then, he feels unconscious and believes this might be due to the poison of the snake in his body. However, our healer magician reveals that he had already figured out how to cure his inner parts, mentioning his stomach incident in the forest. He then climbs on the body of the snake with the help of a baby grizzly, who holds his tail with his hands, and hits him with a powerful punch, causing him to fall to the ground, and begins piercing his injured eye with a spear while the baby grizzly keeps his tail in hold. Just then, their combination works, and the snake goes unconscious. The baby grizzly thanks him for avenging his parents by licking his cheek and hugging him, but to their shock, the giant snake rises up and heads toward them. Before he can kill them off, Usato thinks about Rose and blames her for putting him through this, and calls her out by saying she is a beast, brute, and an ogre. Just then, Rose arrives and lands on the skull of the giant snake, killing him on the spot. Usato wonders why she is here, and Rose reveals that the black rabbit is her pet and she sent him to look after him. She revealed that she was waiting at the edge of the forest, just in case something bad happened to him. However, she wasn't going to interfere in the first place, but after seeing the giant snake, she had no choice. She then revealed that the giant snake is a monster who is modified by the demon army and even sigils cannot defeat him. Despite this, she is shocked to see that the giant snake was able to kill the Grand Grizzly whom their kingdom's elite forces cannot even beat. Usato asks why she put him through this test despite knowing the power of Grand Grizzly, to which Rose explains that she did not expect him to beat the Grand Grizzly but wanted him to gain experience by fighting a stronger opponent. Before leaving, she asks Usato to take the baby grizzly with him as he has taken a liking to him. However, she stops and informs him that she heard him calling her a beast, brute, and ogre, giving him a scary look while revealing he won't be getting any good sleep tonight. After reaching the border of the kingdom, Rose informs him that he has earned the right to become his right man in the battlefield, revealing that his body can withstand pain, physical prowess, and an indomitable spirit, which the other two healers lack. She then informs him to get ready for battle as the Demon Lord's army will make its move soon. At the Demon Lord's castle, the Demon Lord asks the 3rd Army Commander Armilla about their preparation to invade Linger Kingdom, to which she tells him that all of their units have already prepared, and they will soon advance to the Linger Kingdom. After sharing all the information she had about advancing to the Linger Kingdom, the Demon Lord told her that the last time, they had a close battle with the Linger Kingdom, and they were able to repel them. However, this time, he wants to destroy them completely. Hearing this, Amelia says that now that she is the commander of the army, she will make sure to give the Demon Lord what he wanted and leaves. Outside, she meets a man named Monster Doctor, who is revealed to be the mastermind behind the creation of the giant snake. At first, the doctor teases her for being frightened after a private meeting with the Demon Lord, but then informs her that he wants to show her something. There, he shows her the body of the giant snake, calling it a potent venom and revealing that this snake was beaten by the best knight in the Linger Kingdom and ran away. However, he was able to capture it and, with his knowledge, modified it, making it so strong that it can destroy their army alone. Just then, Amelia informs him that she is not worried about their army but about kidnappers known as the Rescue Squad, who always sneak behind their noses and save the lives of the injured. She also reveals that she is very upset with their leader named Miss Rose, who is not only a healer but also a great fighter, and the only person in this world she wants to kill the most. The doctor then informs her that now that she is in command of the army, she will not be able to fight with her. However, Amelia dismisses his concern, revealing that she has contacted the Black Knight, who is way stronger than herself and is the one who will lead the army in the front and kill Miss Rose with his own hands. After informing our healer magician about the invasion of the Demon Lord's army, Miss Rose appoints him as the advance guard and reveals that he will heal the injured with her on the front lines. Usato asks about Tong and the others since they have more experience than him. However, Miss Rose informs him that they have no healing magic, and the other two who have healing magic are assigned to other roles. The next day, Usato meets the Blue Grizzly and gives him some fruits since he wasn't able to eat anything after his parents' death. The Black Rabbit also arrives and wants some fruits too, but our healer magician tells him that he hasn't forgotten him after he took advantage of his innocence, and will not fall for his same old trick. However, upon seeing his cute look and charming eyes, he decides to give him some fruits too. Just then, Miss Rose arrives, and Usato decides to call the Blue Grizzly by the name Blurring, revealing that it's a contraction of Blue Grizzly. Miss Rose informs him that she told King Lloyd about the Blue Grizzly, and he accepted him as the new member of the rescue squad, which means he is not the property of the rescue squad. Usato feels happy after hearing this, but Miss Rose informs him that if Blurren wants to stay here, then he needs to do some work and earn his place. Our healer magician wonders what she is talking about, but the next moment, he is carrying Blurren on his shoulders, and Miss Rose tells him to run while carrying the Blue Grizzly. She informs him to think of this as a real-life test, revealing that he will do the same in the battlefield when someone is injured. Just then, she tells him to start running, and our healer magician obliges. On the way, he encounters all of his squad members who try to stop him with various tricks, including capturing him with their bare hands, attacking him with the kendo stick, hitting him with special bubbles made with stinky water, and even trying to kill him with traps made with wood. But our healer magician, Usato, runs past all of them. After 4 hours, he believes that his body is not working right and he feels something light. But the next moment, he falls to the ground and goes unconscious. Miss Rose arrives and informs him that this is the limit of his body. She tells him that the human body also gets fatigued from anxiety, fear, and frustration, and due to this, his body ran out of energy much faster than normal. When asked how to fix this, she tells him to build up his mental fortitude and his situational awareness while healing him with her magic. After that, she assigns him to run through the town and the castle perimeter while carrying the blue grizzly, and our healer magician obliges with an awkward smile. On the way to the town, he comes upon some people who start talking about him as he is carrying a blue grizzly on his shoulder, but a few of them start praising him, saying that he must be from the rescue squad. Just then, Blurrin smells something and asks him to stop at a nearby shop. There, he sees the same fruit which Usato had given him in the morning, which is revealed to be pearls, and he wants to eat it again. However, Usato informed him that he has no money. He asked the owner of the shop why people are not panicking despite him carrying a blue grizzly on his shoulder, to which the owner informed him that this is because he belongs to a rescue squad member, and they often see them running in the town while carrying something on their shoulders, and that's why people don't get panicked. Hearing this, Usato gets a sigh of relief and informs the owner of the shop that he will buy the fruits next time when he has some money, but the owner gives him a piece of the fruit as a token of friendship, which he happily accepts. As he says leaves, a little girl with cat-like ears named Amako arrives and looks at Usato, who is running while carrying Blurrin on his shoulders. Just then, a boy sees him and runs after him, asking him to stop, but our healer magician doesn't stop, causing the boy to fall to the ground. Seeing this, Usato stops and heals the wounds with his healing magic. Our healer magician then asks him why he was following him, to which the boy informs him that he is one of the healers of the rescue squad named Orgafleur and wanted to say hello to his junior. He praises him for being able to keep up with the captain's training, whom he and his sister weren't able to. He informs him that they run a clinic in the town just to save the lives of the injured. But despite this, he cannot use healing magic to heal himself. Our healer magician then asks Orga about his role on the battlefield, to which he informs him that Tong and others retrieve the injured ones to them, and they heal them with their healing magic. However, Usato tells him that Miss Rose assigned him to the front line and wonders if he has the guts to meet up to the expectations of Miss Rose. Just then, Orga informs him that the ones in most danger on the front lines are the heroes and knights, and if they get injured, all that awaits them is death. But with the healers on the front line, they can be saved. He reveals that the mission is dangerous but believes that it's not a job that she'll entrust to someone half-heartedly, which means she believed in our healer magician. Hearing this, Usato gets up and puts Blurrin on his shoulders. Before leaving, Orga requests him to not hate Miss Rose, revealing that despite being tough and blunt, she has a golden heart, to which our healer magician agrees but reveals that he has some words for her. After he leaves, Orga's sisters arrive and ask where he was, as she has been looking for him. Orga informs her about Usato and tells him everything, revealing that she will like him when she sees him. After a few hours, Usato arrives at the castle. There, he sees various knights training for the war but stops after seeing Inukami training with the other knights. Inukami, after spotting him, heads there and asks what he's doing here along with Blue Grizzly. Usato then introduces her to Blurrin and informs her how he got him. Inukami, as clumsy as ever, wanted to pet Blurrin, but to her shock, he rejected her. Suddenly, Usato notices some wounds in her hand and decides to heal it with his magic. After healing her, he informs her that he's here to meet with her and Kazuki, but she tells him that Kazuki is gone with Siglis and the others into the forest to get some combat experience fighting the real monsters, revealing that the army of the Demon Lord will soon invade this kingdom. Not only this, she also informs him that the king thinks that Kazuki and Inukami are the only ones who can save this kingdom and defeat the Demon Lord. Hearing this, our healer magician informs her that he will also give his best on the battlefield and will do everything he can to save the lives of the people, and then leaves. After reaching home, he meets Miss Rose, who asks him about his training. He informs her that he is getting used to it but still wants to train more. Just then, he informs her that he almost died while fighting the giant snake and decided to quit this after hearing the invasion of the Demon Lord army. However, today, he felt something stronger in his heart. He then informs her that he will not fight in the battlefield and will not kill any enemies either but will save Kazuki, Inukami, and the others on the front line because he is a member of the rescue squad. Hearing this, Miss Rose smiles and tells him that this is more than enough because this is all she wanted, revealing that their only job is to save the ones who are about to be killed and do everything they can to save them, to which our healer magician agrees. In the morning, Miss Rose wakes him and informs him that she has received a message from King Lloyd, and he is headed to the castle to accompany Inukami into the forest. Walking to the capital palace with Miss Rose, Usato asks why he has to join the Inukami's training session despite Kazuki already being there with her. Miss Rose tells him that Kazuki is with Siglis and he was supposed to be with him, but she declined the king's request since he was exhausted after returning from the forest. After that, King sent her another request yesterday, and this time for Inkumi, so she just couldn't refuse him twice. She also informed him that he will be with them just in case they need a healer and orders him to play his part for 3 days and come home unharmed. Just then, they reach the palace and are introduced to Eriku and Korin, who will be accompanying them to the forest. Usato, looking at Eriku, thinks that he saw him somewhere, and Eriku tells him that he was the guard that met him at the gate of the place when he was heading to the forest with Miss Rose. And Inukami is happy that Usato brought Blurrin to their training, thinking that he is trying to help her bond with Blurren, but Yuzato tells her that Blurren doesn't like anyone at home, so he decides to take him along. Just then, Miss Rose tells Inukami that Yuzato still hasn't mastered his healing magic abilities, which means he can only heal wounds and cure poison, but cannot bring back people from the dead. Before leaving, she taunts Yuzato for not saying any good words to her, but then tells Inukami to look after themselves. Looking at Miss Rose, Inukami believes that Miss Rose is a powerful fighter, and Yuzato agrees, and so they head to the forests. At the kingdom, Kazuki is practicing his sword technique. Suddenly, the princess walks in and stops him from doing that, revealing that he was all fatigued after returning from the forest yesterday. But Kazuki assures her that he had a good night's sleep and is in good spirits now. The princess, feeling flushed at the sight, tells him to look after himself and runs away. On the way to the forest, Inukami informs Yuzato that Kazuki had battled tons of monsters and was able to kill them in the dark forest, known as the Darkness of Linger, and that's why they are heading there. Hearing the name of the forest, Yuzato believes that this was the forest Blurren had lived with his family, and wonders if he misses his family. Just then, Inukami tries to touch his fluffy skin since he was sleeping, but Yuzato stops her after smacking her, and reveals that he is taking a good sleep and he does not want her to wake him up. Suddenly, Blurren wakes up, and Yuzato tells him to walk by his own, but realizes that he is still asleep and cannot walk. Just then, Inukami asks him to get on her back, revealing that she will carry him and will make a bond with him. Yuzato stops her, but she doesn't listen. Suddenly, Blurren hops on her back, and she can't handle the weight of Blurren's body and falls unconscious. Seeing this, Yuzato heals her with his healing magic and then heads toward the village. Suddenly, Korin senses something on her magic stab and informs them that something is coming in their way. Eriku believes there must be some monsters, but out comes some bandits who are hiding in the bushes just to ambush them. Their leader threatens them to hand over all their valuables, otherwise they will kill on the spot. Yuzato tells Inukami not to get frightened because he will protect her from everything. But upon looking at her, he realizes that she is totally into bandits, which she reveals that she never saw them in her whole life. Just then, Blurren steps in, causing the bandits to get frightened at the sight, saying that they even got Blue Grizzly, but their leader tells them he is just a cub. Suddenly, Inukami, who had enough of this nonsense, attacks them with her thunder magic and takes out their leader in one attack. The others also charge at her, causing Yuzato to get hyped up and tells her to go get them, which she does so with her thunder magic but informs Yuzato that he is getting on her nerves. Just then, Korin senses something else and informs them that something is coming in their way, and they are very fast. Suddenly, a group of red boars arrives and attacks them. Inukami tries to save their group with her thunder magic, but it does not have any effect on them, causing one of the red boars to attack her, but Yuzato comes to her aid, and the red boar sends them both flying into the air with his tackle. Yuzato activates his magic and uses it on Inukami so she didn't get hurt during the fall, but they end up falling into the river. Seeing the river, Yuzato realizes that he was here before when he was chased by the Grizzly family and realizes that there is a waterfall ahead. So, he asks Inukami to take a deep breath, and she does so, and they both fall into the waterfall. After that, Inukami wakes up on the side of the waterfall. She asks Yuzato to wake up as she did not want him to die on her, but Yuzato informed her that he is fine and was taking a breather after pulling her out of the water. He then heals her injuries and she thanks him for that. He tells her that he was here before when Miss Rose dumped him into this forest to train, revealing that this forest is teeming with monsters that put those red boars to shame. Hearing this, Inukami tells Yuzato that if the details he is revealing are true, then they should prioritize escaping from this forest. To this, Yuzato looks at the sky and tells her that it's going to get dark soon and it might start raining, so they should find a spot to camp for the night and find their way out tomorrow morning. Inukami asks if he knows any safe place, to which Yuzato tells her that he slept on a tree branch last time. Hearing this, Inukami reveals that she never climbed a tree before and has always wanted to but was never allowed to. Yuzato believes that Inukami must be from a rich family, and that's why they sheltered her all her life. Just then, he sees a cave and tells her to go there as they will be sheltered from the rain and it's way better than going deep into the forest. After that, they hunt down some fishes after Inukami electrified them in the river and made some fire in the cave. Yuzato thanks her for the food and the fire, revealing that his clothes were wet, and due to this, they will be soaked. Inukami, who was feeling flushed after looking at his body, believed that he's even more ripped than before. However, he sees some monkeys and heads towards them. Yuzato tells her that they are venom monkeys and asks her not to touch them, but she ends up getting bitten by one of them and goes unconscious, which causes Yuzato to heal her immediately. At the kingdom, King Lloyd informed Kazuki that he got word from Korin's familiar that Inukami's group ran into a herd of monsters, and both Yuzato and Inukami got separated. Hearing this, a shocked Kazuki informs him that he is going there right now, but Miss Rose stops him and then tells him that Yusato is with her, and as long as he is with her, he will save her from any danger and asks him not to worry about her. Inside the cave, Yusato thanks her for the fire and the food, but Inukami believes that he is treating her like some kind of camping equipment. Just then, Inukami feels sleepy, and Yusato tells her to go first as they will take turns in sleeping. However, Inukami wants him to go first, revealing that he is tired from using all that healing magic. Suddenly, as he heads to sleep, it starts raining outside. Inukami asks how he feels about being summoned into this world, believing that he must have wanted to go back to his home. He reveals that he wants to go home too, but he has a reason to stay here. Just then, Inukami informs him that she wants to stay here in this world because there's nothing left in our world for her, and she already threw away her family, her friends, and her memories just to stay here. She reveals that she was waiting all her whole life for this chance, saying that this is the freedom she always wanted. Yusato feels happy at this and then informed her that he himself always wanted to change because he was tired of his ordinary life and his passive self. He explains that when he first arrived in this world, he didn't want to hold you guys back, but now he is determined to protect Inukami, Kazuki, and the people of this kingdom as a member of the rescue squad. Hearing this, they both nod at each other and vow that they will leave their old life behind and will protect the people of Linger Kingdom. The next day, they head to the forest to find their friends. Suddenly, they hear something and fall back. They feel that there must be some monsters ahead, but it turned out to be Blurrin who was searching for them. He greets Yusato and hugs him, while Eriku feels exhausted because he was following Blurrin at a rapid speed. Yusato then heals him, and he thanks Yusato for that. Just then, Blurrin sees something and heads there. Upon reaching, Inukami wonders what he is doing, to which Yusato informs her that this was Blurrin's home where he lived with his family who were killed by a giant snake monster. Suddenly, Blurrin turns back and looks at Yusato, causing him to believe that he wants to leave, and he wants to stay on his side. Seeing this, Inukami extends her hand and asks him to go with him, and he does so. After returning to the kingdom, King Lloyd is happy that both Yusato and Inukami are fine, but apologizes for sending them to the dark forests. Yusato tells King Lloyd not to apologize as he is used to being in situations like those, but suddenly realizes that his revelation will get him into trouble because Miss Rose will not like this. Just then, he lies to King Lloyd and tells him that he used to do these kinds of trainings in his old world. Hearing this, King Lloyd tells Inukami and Yusato to take some rest and asks Miss Rose and Sigley's to stay in the court as they have some important matters to discuss. On the way, Kazuki and Princess Celia stop Inukami and Yusato. He reveals that he was worried about their health because he heard from the knights that they went to the dark forest and got separated after some monsters attacked them. Our healer magician, Yusato, first thanks him and then assures him that they are perfectly fine. They then sit near the princess's room and Kazuki tells Yusato that when he was worried about his health, Miss Rose told him that she has complete trust in Yusato and his magic ability, revealing that he will not be killed, and this caused him to have complete faith in Yusato and Miss Rose. Hearing those words, Yusato believes that Kazuki is a pure, sweet, and innocent boy, and tells him to never change himself. After that, they say goodbye to each other and head towards their houses. Princess Celia, who was watching all this, tells Kazuki that he is really close to Yusato and Inukami, to which Kazuki informs her that they were close friends in their old world. Hearing this, Princess Celia tells him that she wants to be his friend and requests him to call her by her name Celia. Kazuki, understanding her feelings, reveals that he will oblige to her request and from this moment, will call her by her name. At the palace, King Lloyd informs Sigley's and Miss Rose that they have identified the bandits who attacked Yusato and Inukami. King Lloyd's right-hand man then takes the speech and informs them that they launched an inquiry on this and found out that the Red Boars, who attacked both the bandits and Yusato's group, were fleeing away from the monster who tried to kill them. To this, King Lloyd tells them that the monster was from the Demon Lord's army and they are heading towards the capital. Hearing this, Sigley states that the last time, they managed to send them back, but this time, they must be well prepared. So, he asks King Lloyd to give him an order to prepare the king's army immediately, and King Lloyd agrees. Just as Sigley leaves, King Lloyd tells Miss Rose that he wants her to see how far the Demon Lord's army has come, to which Miss Rose happily agrees, saying that she is the fastest in the kingdom. Just then, he asks Miss Rose to return to her post as a battalion commander, but Miss Rose quickly denies, saying that she has not forgiven herself. She then reveals that due to her selfish behavior in the war, she lost all of her comrades and friends, and that's why she will bear the burden all herself until her death. She explains that her reason behind creating the rescue squad was not to fight, but to focus on saving lives. Hearing this, King Lloyd acknowledges her accomplishments in the battle during 2 years ago where she saved many innocent lives, but then asks has she not achieved her goal yet. To this, Miss Rose tells him that his other reason to create the rescue squad was to find a subordinate who cannot die. When asked if this is not humanly possible, to which she informs him that she has found one man who has healing magic, the determination to push one's body beyond its limits, and an iron will that will never bend in the face of any opponent. King Lloyd wonders who it is, but realizes that it's Usato. Miss Lloyd then tells him that Usato has all the abilities, and he reminds her of her dead subordinates, and believes that he will become the ideal healer magician. After revealing this, Miss Rose leaves and heads towards the demon army. At home, Alec gives him some letters, saying that Miss Rose told him to inform Usato that he has no training tomorrow, and will deliver these letters to the other healer magicians in the capital. On the other side, Armilla is hyping up the Demon Lord's army, but the Black Knight isn't interested in it. Seeing this, Armilla gets irritated and asks him to follow her order as she is the one commanding this army. Black Knight believes she is annoying but then walks away. Suddenly, some of the soldiers try to cross the bridge, but one of the men informs her that someone from the kingdom is on the other side. Armilla smiles and states that this will hurt their position, believing when the person goes back to the kingdom, they will already be inside their capital. Just then, a tree crashes into the bridge and breaks it apart, causing the soldiers to fall below the river. Armilla, in horror, wonders who can throw this tree trunk with ease, but Miss Rose, with a smile, shows her help, causing Armilla to yell at her, saying that she will kill her with her own hands. However, to Armilla's further dismay, Miss Rose runs away, stating that she is able to buy the kingdom a couple of days. At the kingdom, our healer magician, Usato, looks for the mentioned place but sees people looking at him, causing him to run faster and reach the assigned place. There, he meets the sister of Orga Floor, who introduces herself as Yoru Floor. She reveals that she is also a healer magician just like her brother and then takes Usato to his office. There, Orga was treating a kid with his healing magic and was successfully able to heal his fever. After that, he meets Usato and asks about his sudden visit, to which Usato gives him the letters and informs him that they are from Miss Rose. Orga reads those letters but gets a deep sigh and then gives a sad look. Suddenly, a man arrives into their room and informs them that his friends fell off from the roof they were fixing and greatly injured. Hearing this, Orga asks Usato to help him in this task and he obliges. They arrive on the spot and Orga tells him to start healing the injuries of the injured ones. Our healer magician, Usato, who never cured anyone except himself, reveals that he only healed the minor injuries of Orga, Kazuki, and Inukami. He wonders what he should do, but Orga informs him to believe in himself and his abilities. This causes Usato to realize if the real war begins, he will have to do this anyway, and then thinks this is a test. Just then, he activates his healing magic and quickly heals the injured leg of the fallen man. After that, Orga thanks him for his help, but Usato states that this was nothing as he is also a member of the rescue squad, which means this is his duty to protect the lives of others. They then say goodbye to him and Usato heads to the shop of the old lady, just to buy the fruits for Blurin. Suddenly, Orga informs his sister that they have been summoned to go to war, revealing that the Demon Lord's army is very close. After buying some fruits from the old lady, Usato tries to leave but the girl with cat-like ears stops him and tells him that he is the only one who can stop this. Usato, hearing this, wonders what she is talking about. However, the girl then shows him the future, where the Demon Lord's army has invaded the kingdom and almost killed everyone. Not only this, he also sees Miss Rose, Kazuki, and Inukami being killed by the Black Knight. Usato, horrified at this, wonders what was that, but the girl with cat-like ears informs our healer magician that this is their future, and he is the only one who can stop. Like and comment if you enjoy this video. Subscribe to my channel for more anime recaps, and tell me what anime recap you like to see next in the